Hello everyone, this is Brian Hakeem here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Walker Dead's Reboot series, Season 2, Episode 13, Better Angels. So, this actually was a very good episode. I give it a 9 out of 10 because there was a lot in this episode. It was like 46 minutes long, and a lot of it was actually made by Walker Dead. It took a lot from. There was scenes from episode 12 of season 2 and Better Angels, but obviously like a lot of this is also his original version, which is really interesting. So this episode, like I said, I give it a 9 out of 10. And basically the episode starts out right after episode 12 where and his original character and villain Harlan attacks Rick and them on the farm. And this is like absolutely crazy. The way that Harlan and his group delivers attack the farm, they're just shooting at the house, they're shooting at everyone. And we get, this is just crazy. We get Carol getting apparently shot in the eye, very similar to how Carl was in season 6, episode 9 of the original show. Carol doesn't die, she loses her eye, very similar to No Way Out. Like, as far as, with Carl getting that scene, which I definitely did not expect, And also in this universe reboot, Daryl and Carol are together. They're a couple, and like not as if that wasn't bad enough, we also lose Ben, who is the son of Alan in his reboot series. So like this is like a little kid. He just gets shot, by Harlan, and not only that, but we have Dale, who Random Walker, comes through in the farm. Like when the characters are distracted and trying to take cover from the livers and shooting their guns, Dale is unfortunately bitten by a random walker that was just simply crawling on the farm, and it bites him in the leg. And Dale does not die later in the episode. So like Patricia, Andrea, and Rick, and I think like Herschel, they all chop off Dale's leg in order to save him. Very similar to the comic book series, which is very interesting that Walker Dead did that, which makes me think he's not really going to do that in the show with Herschel. So after that, we have the characters fighting off the livers, and the livers eventually leave. They, get away. They leave the farm, and we have the characters talking to each other about what happened, and this is actually very interesting. We get, more scenes with, John Miller, who is an OC character made by Walker Dead. And I'm going to be talking about, the majority of this review is going to be talking about the Rick versus Shane situation. So one of the things that Walker Dead changes is that Shane actually goes to livers. He kills Randall exactly the same way he does in the main show, but one change is that he frames Randall's death on John, John Miller, who is an original character in the Walking Dead reboot series. And Shane actually joins. He actually goes to livers and tells them that he wants them to kill Rick, or he wants to kill Rick. You know what I mean? Like, he's willing to help them, which is very interesting. Like, that just shows how crazy Shane is. You know what I mean? That he's willing to join these people who attacked him, that were the bad guys. Obviously, in the original series, Shane did not want to join Randall's group. It was all just a ploy that Shane told Randall so that he could just simply kill him. And, even though Shane has problems with the group in the show, he didn't want everyone there to die. He was, for the most part, just wanted to kill Rick in the show. Whereas in the reboot series, it seems like Shane is definitely more jealous of Rick and I guess John's relationship. And, he's definitely more, I would say, psychotic because of the way that he's willing to completely turn his back against the group. I mean, even like, Carl and like Lori, I mean, what's going to happen to them if the livers come? And so, yeah, anyways, we have the scene where he tries to have John killed by the livers, but John actually manages to escape, which is really awesome. And, John is in Walker Dead's reboot series is so awesome. He's my favorite character. He doesn't exist in the Walking Dead main show at all, or in the comics, or any other version of the Walking Dead universe, because he's an original character. And like in the show, Shane talks to Rick about how Rick destroyed everything, that everything was fine until he came along and that, Rick is constantly hesitating and causing problems for the group. And I like that Walker Dead kept this like 99% the same from the original main source, the show, into the reboot series, because honestly it's pretty much perfect, so it kind of makes sense to not change it. And one change is that when Rick, goes and surrenders to Shane, it's actually, so John actually comes back and saves Rick. He actually manages to hit Shane from a distance with a shotgun, and Rick actually, is able to finish off Shane by stabbing him, because he was still alive, and he was still, he still had the gun in his hand, so Rick had to finish him off. Whereas in the show, it definitely seems like, Rick was getting to Shane, and Rick simply chose to kill Shane simply to save himself 100%, and to get out of the field. So this episode was absolutely amazing, honestly. Like I said, like 9 out of 10. It was really good, and like really really good, because the dynamic between Rick and Shane is just over. These two characters knew each other before the apocalypse. They were brothers, and it's just simply over. And it's just absolutely, gut wrenching in both like versions, obviously, because of how well done it was. I mean, honestly, like Walker Dead keeping this the same was a very smart idea. And I'm going to be okay. So now that I talked about a lot about the positives, I am going to talk a little bit about some of, I guess, negatives that I had with this episode. How Walker Dead, I guess, envisioned his version. So I'm going to be talking about that just a little bit. And so one of the, I guess, small flaws I had with this episode was that, so like one of the flaws I had with this episode was that Shane was able to convince the main villain of, the livers, the main villain of the season, that, he was with them, that he was willing to betray his own group for them in order to kill Rick. And I don't really like, Shane doing that is fine in this reboot series, but like Harlan is just like, the villain is literally asking Shane, why should I believe you? How do I know you didn't kill Randall? And Shane just, it feels like it's kind of ignored. Like Shane just says, like, because Rick is my enemy. I feel like that's not really convincing, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's not really convincing, because like Shane's the one with blood on his face, and he did kill Randall, and he literally brings Randall's corpse to Harlan, I think. So, I don't know, that part was a little bit confusing. Like, like, I don't know, it feels like Harlan should have suspected Shane killed Randall, like 100%, And another small flaw I had with this episode was just that small scene with Carl and Sophia, where Carl goes to check on Sophia because her, mother was shot in the reboot series. Carol was injured, she was shot, and the way Carl just talks to her, I don't know, the way that those two kids talk to each other, it doesn't feel realistic, I guess. Like, just that Sophia can just be like, Carl makes her like smile again and laugh, like after like 20 seconds of talking. It just feels like, realistically, like she should still be upset that her mother is lying in the bed injured. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that was realistic, even if they're kids. I don't know. It was just me. That's just my personal opinion. But like, you know what I mean? Like, but the scene with Carl and Shane, and the scene with Carl and, Rick in the barn, where Rick talks to Carl about how, one day I'm going to die, son, you're going to die. Like, I'm glad Walker Dead kept that scene, and that's another pro to, the reboot series, because obviously, like, in the main show, that's the gun that, Rick gives Carl, the gun that eventually ends up being the gun that kills Zombie Shane. But in the reboot series, like, Carl is actually not in the field, which is kind of interesting. And then after that, and this is like a really small flaw, I definitely think that certain characters are not being used enough in the reboot series, such as Billy Green, who is the youngest son of Herschel Green, from Herschel, on the farm. I just feel like maybe he could be used more, or he maybe should have been used more, because I feel like right now there's so many characters in the reboot series, and it's kind of hard to keep track of, I guess, everyone. But I definitely think like characters like Andrea, are definitely better in this version, because they're not making stupid mistakes like the main show had them do in the original. And not only that, but like like I said, like John Miller, who is Walker Dead's reboot character, who doesn't exist in any Walking Dead, is very interesting. You know, very cool character. You know, he's a great fighter. He's also very smart. You know, he is able to figure out that Shane. He's able to figure out before Rick that Shane is, you know, up to something no good. You know what I mean? Like all the clues just don't fit with the whole Randall situation, and he's able to piece it all together, and he's actually able to fight off a whole bunch of like bad guys, you know, livers just by himself, which is pretty interesting. But it kind of but it absolutely makes sense because he was a Marine before the apocalypse, so he is very well skilled and in training. And there was also an interesting scene in the episode where Shane was looking at Randall, you know, in the shed, waiting to kill him, and then Shane had this like voice in his head telling him like, you know, do what you want to do, you know what's the right thing to do, you know, just go ahead, kill him, that kind of thing. So that's a pretty cool change from, I guess, the source, not source material, but the main show, because I definitely think like, yeah, if Shane, definitely in that scene, in the main show, it definitely seemed like Shane was hearing a voice telling him to kill Randall, and maybe they could have had that. You know what I mean? I feel like they could have had that scene. And then actually the episode ends with the characters with Rick and John. They're in the field. They're both covered in blood. And, you know, Shane just died. And then you have a large farm. The farm has a large herd, you know, coming towards it, which is pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know where this herd came from, but my guess is that we're going to see, you know, it in episode 14, like what happened with this herd. And yeah, so honestly, this was a really good episode, guys. Like, I'm not joking, it was pretty cool. It was very faithful to the main show in terms of, you know, the whole Randall situation and how Shane tried to kill Rick, but it's sprinkled in a little bit with, you know, obviously the main antagonist. Like, this is one thing that, you know, I feel like was missing in season 2. The group really needed to face an exterior threat rather than each other. I mean, the group are like, literally in season 2, the group destroyed themselves. Honestly, like everything that happened in season 2 was the group's fault, because they literally let paranoia with the whole Randall's group thing destroy them. They let the whole paranoia thing drive them apart, and tear each other apart, because they literally had this prisoner, and they honestly, in a way, I think they were just freaking out over nothing. The group overreacted so much, whereas in the reboot series, it definitely, there's a whole lot more stress going on with the characters. The characters are at each other's throats a lot more because there's a lot more at stake. They have more people. There's, you know, literal enemies who know where they are, you know, that they're living in the farm, and that they want to kill them. Another thing I liked in the reboot series was, you know, Tara, who has been introduced much earlier in this reboot series than her actual show counterpart. She actually apologized to Rick. She told Rick that it was her fault that the livers attacked, because she just wanted revenge against them after they murdered her previous group and her family. And she says that she learned, Rick, and that she's so sorry, that she won't ever do that again. You know what I mean? Because she just simply was letting her emotions drive her, very similar to like a season 8 Tara. And like, I'm glad that this was kind of addressed, and you know, it's a lot better than what the actual show did with Tara in season 8, because in season 8, Tara was just, you know, all rage, and then she hated the Saviors. She wanted to make them all pay for killing Denise, which happened like 2 seasons ago, and then all of a sudden she gets shot by Dwight with an arrow, and then she just has no more rage in her. Like, I don't know, that just made no sense whatsoever in the show. Like, season 8 was so bad, but we're not here to talk about that. And yeah, so anyways, I think that's it, is going to be it for my review, Walker Dead. Thank you so much. This was a very good episode, honestly. Like I said, a 9 out of 10. There were only, you know, little bit small flaws I had with the episode. They didn't really take away from the episode, just kind of raised some questions that perhaps I missed or perhaps I didn't catch at first. And now I'm going to give my really quick thoughts for death predictions for the rest of season 2, because this is only episode 13, which means we have about, I believe, 4 more episodes to go. I believe that's how many are left in season 2 in Walker Dead's reboot series for season 2. I will say we are going to lose Guillermo, who used to be the leader of the nursing home in the Vatos gang from season 1 of the original show. I think that he is definitely going to die. We are going to lose Harlan and all the livers. I also think that we are going to lose one of Herschel's kids. I would say one of his younger kids, like Rachel or Susie Green. And not only that, but I think we're going to lose either a Vestar, which is another Reboot character, or T-Dog. I feel like we're going to lose one of them to the Herd or to the Livers. And after that, so basically, besides the villains, we are going to get at least 3 more deaths from the characters on the farm out of around 4 episodes. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it for my review and death predictions. I want to thank you all for watching, and please give Walker Dead's Reboot series a chance if you have the time. And yeah, please like and subscribe, and I thank you all.